Okay, so you know those time travel movies? The ones that are obsessed with like paradoxes and gadgets,
Right.
but they never really get into like what it would actually mean to like mess with time.
Yeah.
The butterfly effect from 2004.
Right.
That one throws you straight into that question.
Yeah.
It's not really about the tech, it's more about the fallout of like, trying to rewrite your own past.
Right.
And that's what I think makes this movie so different. It's not just some sci-fi adventure flick where time travel is just this convenient thing to move the plot along. It really makes you think about like, if you could go back, should you?
Yeah, and even more than that, it's like, what would the consequences be?
Yeah.
You know? It's not as simple as just changing one thing.
Exactly. And it all centers around this guy, Evan Treborn, who has this really unique thing happen to him. He gets these memory blackouts during like super traumatic events in his childhood. Like his brain just can't handle it.
Like a defense mechanism almost. It's really interesting how that coping mechanism, that thing that's protecting him, ends up being the key to something so much bigger.
It's wild.
Later on, when he's in college, studying human memory of all things, he finds these old journals from when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when he reads them, it's not just remembering, he's reliving those lost moments.
And then it gets even crazier. He figures out that he can actually change things when he goes back. That's where things get really messy.
Right.
And the guys behind it all, the directors, Eric Bress and J. Mackie Gruber, they take this simple idea and turn it into something really dark and intense.
Definitely. And, there are actually two main versions of this film. Most people probably saw the one that was in theaters, the theatrical cut.
Right.
But there's also the director's cut that came out a little later.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that version is better, more powerful.
Yeah, especially the ending.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something we'll definitely talk about more later on. But before we get into the story itself, we got to talk about the title.
Yeah, the butterfly effect.
It's not just a cool name. It comes from a really important idea in chaos theory. You know that opening scene with the quote about a butterfly flapping its wings?
Oh, yeah, causing a hurricane on the other side of the world.
Exactly. And that's the idea they're going for here. Even tiny actions in the past can have these huge, unpredictable effects later on. Reality is this interconnected web.
It's like a domino effect on a cosmic scale.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with Evan's childhood. What kind of traumatic things happened to him that led to these memory blackouts?
Well, his childhood was pretty messed up. There were a lot of unsettling things going on, and these memory gaps were a constant problem. It's something he actually inherited from his dad, who was institutionalized.
Oh, wow.
And then there are his close friends, Kayleigh, Tommy, and Lenny.
Right.
Their lives weren't exactly a walk in the park either, especially Kayleigh and Tommy. They were dealing with some serious abuse from their dad.
So that's a pretty intense backdrop for all of them.
Definitely. And there's this one specific event, the whole dynamite in the mailbox thing.
Oh, yeah. That was wild. What exactly happened there?
So it starts as a prank, just kids messing around.
Right.
But it takes a really dark turn and ends up in a horrible accident. It's a big turning point for all four of them and a major source of trauma for Evan. It really shows how something you do as a kid can have these lasting consequences.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't undo things.
Right.
So to try and help Evan with these memory problems, a psychologist tells him to start writing in a journal. Seems simple enough.
Right, just a way to process things. But it ends up being way more important than anyone could have imagined.
Yeah, that journal becomes like the key to his whole time travel thing later on. It's kind of crazy how it all connects.
Absolutely. It's like an accidental blueprint for his future. All these little moments he's writing down.
Okay, let's jump ahead a few years to when Evan's in college. And the crazy part is, he's studying human memory. How does he rediscover those lost parts of his life?
It all goes back to those journals. When he reads them as an adult, it's not just remembering, it's like he's being pulled back into those moments.
It's like full-on immersion.
Yeah, and it's not random either. There's a connection to his dad and a specific thing that allows him to do this.
It's like a genetic thing.
The film suggests that, yeah, it's like there's something unique about Evan's brain, something he got from his dad.
Right.
And get this, the blackouts weren't causing the time travel, it was the other way around. Every time he went back, it created a blackout in his present.
Wow.
And to go back, he needs something to focus on, like a journal entry, a picture, a video, something to anchor him to a specific moment.
It's like a time travel bookmark.
Exactly.
And it's not exactly a walk in the park for him physically, right? Jumping between timelines can't be good for you.
No, it takes a huge toll on him. Each time he changes something, it creates this whole new timeline, a new reality, and his brain has to process all that. It's like overloading a computer.
Yikes.
Yeah, and the film implies that This is what messed up his dad's mind, too. It's not just the time travel itself, it's the constant rewiring of his brain.
So Evan's got this amazing but kind of terrifying ability. And at first, he just wants to use it for good. He wants to fix the bad things that happened, especially to Kayleigh. But things don't really go as planned.
Right, his heart's in the right place. But it shows that even the best intentions can backfire.
Big time.
It's that butterfly effect in action. Every little change has these massive, unforeseen consequences.
And it shows us some pretty dark possibilities. Without spoiling too much, what kind of realities does Evan end up creating?
Well, he goes through a lot. In some timelines, he's a murderer. In others, he's in prison. In others, he's paralyzed, or even dealing with mental illness. It's not pretty.
It's heavy stuff.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just implied. The film shows us these realities, and it also deals with some really dark themes like child abuse, animal cruelty, you name it. It's not an easy watch.
No, it's definitely intense. But it's interesting that most of the changes seem to stay within Evan's close circle. We don't see any global catastrophes or anything like that, except for that one weird instance you mentioned.
You're right. It's mostly Kayleigh, Tommy, Lenny, and his mom who are affected. There's that one time where his change makes the whole university campus feel like a musical, but that's really the only time we see that kind of wider effect.
Yeah, it's like a little glimpse of what could happen on a bigger scale, but for the most part, it's very personal.
Right. It shows how our choices, even those aimed at the past, can have huge consequences for those closest to us.
Okay, let's talk about the actors who brought these characters to life. We've got Ashton Kutcher as Evan, which was a pretty big departure from his usual comedic roles. How did he do?
You know, I think he did a pretty good job for what it was. Some people thought he nailed it, showing Evan's inner turmoil and desperation. Others weren't so convinced. They felt like he lacked something for such a dark role.
Right.
But it was a big challenge for him, and I think he made it work.
And then there's Amy Smart as Kayleigh, who goes through like a million different versions of herself because of Evan's time traveling.
Oh, for sure. Amy Smart's performance is really important because Evan's so focused on her, on trying to save her.
Right.
So we see her happy, abused, lost, all these different versions of herself. It's a tough role, but she handles it well.
Yeah, she has to be super versatile.
And we can't forget Logan Lerman as young Evan.
Oh yeah, he was great.
He got a lot of praise for his performance. He really captured that childhood vulnerability and the early signs of Evan's trauma. It sets up Ashton Kutcher's performance really well.
They both played the same character, but at different points in his life, and they both bring something unique to it.
Exactly. And then we have Melora Walters as Evan's mom and Eric Stoltz as Kayleigh's abusive father.
Right.
Both of them give really memorable performances. Melora Walters as this kind of overwhelmed and maybe a little naive mom, and Eric Stoltz as this truly menacing figure. He really embodies that darkness that hangs over the kids.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. The butterfly effect has multiple endings. What's the deal with that?
That's one of the things that makes this movie so fascinating to discuss. There's the theatrical ending, which is the one most people saw, and then there's the director's cut, which is a lot darker.
Okay, so walk us through the theatrical ending.
So in that ending, Evan goes back to the birthday party where he first met Kayleigh as a kid. He knows that their relationship causes so much pain across different timelines.
Right.
So he does this really cruel thing. He whispers something awful to her, basically making sure they never become friends.
Oh, wow.
And then the film jumps forward,
Yeah.
and we see them as adults passing each other on the street. They recognize each other, but that's it. They just keep walking.
It's like this bittersweet moment of what could have been.
Yeah, he leaves you wondering if he made the right choice.
And the director's cut is completely different, right?
Totally. It's way more intense.
Right.
Evan realizes that his very existence is the problem. He's the reason his friends suffer in every timeline. So he finds an old home movie of his birth and goes back to the womb.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and he strangles himself with the umbilical cord. That's dark.
It's heavy stuff, but it completely rewrites the future. His mom says she had 3 stillborn babies after that. Kayleigh and Tommy grow up in a good home, Lenny has a normal childhood, and Kayleigh ends up happy with someone else.
So it's like he sacrifices himself for everyone else's happiness?
Exactly. And there's even this moment where Tommy talks about the sacrifices parents make for their kids, which is a direct reference to what Evan did.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful message. The theatrical ending is about letting go and hoping for the best, but the director's cut is about ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, and people had very different reactions to both endings. Some found the theatrical ending easier to swallow, less bleak.
Right.
But a lot of people thought the director's cut was truer to the film's message about consequences.
It definitely makes you think. So what are some of the big themes that the butterfly effect explores?
Well, there's the whole idea that everything is connected. Small choices can have huge consequences down the line. It also makes you think about whether we can actually control our own destinies. And it shows that even when you're trying to do good, things can go horribly wrong.
Absolutely. It challenges the idea that we can just go back and fix the past. Maybe the past is supposed to be messy.
Yeah, maybe those imperfections are what make us who we are.
Right. And it makes you think about all the what-ifs in your own life. What if I had done this differently? Would things be better or worse?
It's definitely a film that stays with you. Now, with any time travel movie, people are always looking for plot holes. Did the butterfly effect get any criticism for that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some people thought that time travel logic was inconsistent and took them out of the story, but others didn't mind so much. They focused on the bigger themes and the emotional impact.
It seems like it really connected with younger audiences back then.
Yeah, I think the visual style and the themes of trauma and love really resonated with them. It also taps into that feeling of wanting to go back and change things, which I think a lot of young people feel.
That makes sense. Now, The Butterfly Effect wasn't the first movie to explore the dangers of time travel. Were there any comparisons to other films?
Definitely. Some compared it to action movies like The Terminator and Time Cop, which also deal with changing the past. But thematically, it's closer to films like Sliding Doors, which is about parallel realities.
Right.
And then there are movies like Donnie Darko and Memento that play with memory and perception, kind of like The Butterfly Effect.
It's interesting that they actually filmed the prison scenes in a real prison in Washington State.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the realism and the intensity of those scenes.
It sounds like the movie almost didn't get made.
Yeah.
And Ashton Kutcher was really involved behind the scenes, wasn't he?
He was. He was an executive producer. He really believed in the story
Yeah.
and wanted to see it get made.
That's cool. And how did critics react to the film?
It was a mixed bag. Some thought it was too complicated, illogical, or just too dark. But others praised its originality and the way it tackles big questions about destiny and consequence.
It seems like it's gained more appreciation over time.
I think so, especially with the director's cut becoming more widely available.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Butterfly Effect, what are some key things to take away from it?
The biggest thing is that messing with the past can have disastrous consequences, even if you have good intentions. It shows that our actions are all interconnected and that we can't always predict or control the outcomes.
It makes you realize that maybe some things are just meant to be, even the bad things.
Yeah, maybe those difficult experiences shape us in ways we don't fully understand.
And it really makes you think about those what-if moments in your own life, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you wonder what your life would be like if you could go back and change things, and whether those changes would ultimately be for the better or worse.
So here's something to ponder. Thinking about all those different realities Evan went through, what one thing in your own past, if you could change it, do you think would have the biggest impact on your life now? Would it be for the better or the worse?
It's a question worth considering. The butterfly effect really highlights how complex and interconnected our lives are, and how even the smallest decisions can ripple out in ways we never imagine.
So think about that, and thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the butterfly effect.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has.
I always found myself thinking about this movie long after I've seen it.
Me too.
It just sticks with you.
It does.